What's going on, guys? Dropadooski here. Today I'm going to talk about my speed farming setup for the monk that I'll be using in Season 13. Now, I did do a guide earlier called the Day 1 T13 guide for the monk. This is a follow-up to that, so you will use the stuff from that guide in the beginning of the season, and then by using that setup, you can then farm the rest of the stuff for this build, and then have a really solid, strong farming setup for Season 13 that I'll pretty much use all the time, even when I'm not going to be focusing on the monk solely throughout the season. It just happens to be one of the best and fastest builds in the game currently for doing T13, and it's very useful overall. If you're debating on what to start for Season 13, I would definitely say going with monk is the strongest Hedrig's gift, and it will get you moving very, very quickly. So let's jump over to the gear and start going through it. You're going to be utilizing the 6-piece bonus from the Sunwuko set, which basically gives you an increased 1000% damage for every stack of Sweeping Wind that you have. So that affects Slashing Tail Kick, Tempest Rush, or Wave of Light. So we're going to be utilizing Wave of Light for this setup, and that's the bell. And so getting those stacks is the most important thing. So speaking of those stacks, we'll talk about the Vengeful Wind. Now, the Vengeful Wind is one of the 2 weapons that you're going to equip for this. As you can see here, I'm using a non-ancient one, and I'm going to tell you why. It's a 7 stack. So if you look at the passive on this, it's 7 stacks of Sweeping Wind. I have an ancient one here that has 6. It's that important. So the raw damage buff that you'll get from an ancient is nowhere close to the multiplier that you're getting from the extra stack of Sweeping Wind. So that extra stack is giving me 1000% more damage to my bells. So in any instance where you're farming up a Vengeful Wind to wear, always prioritize that 7 stack Vengeful Wind. You want to max stack Vengeful Wind when you're using this for speed farming. That's one of the things that makes it challenging for this, and that's why I didn't equip it in my previous guide. But when you get to this point, you're going to want to equip it and cube the Incense Torch. The other a weapon that you'll be wearing is the Ingeom. Now, the Ingeom enables you to keep your Epiphany up pretty much all the time. You also have access to the Mystic Ally very, very often, and you can basically permadash through the rifts, which give it the speed that you saw in the video behind me. So it really, really moves. It's probably the fastest T13 speed farming build in the game right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see many, many people using the monk in Season 13. So if you are looking for loot sharing and other things like that in the communities, you should have no problem finding other monks to run with. With those weapons being gone over, I'll just touch on it one more time. Incense Torch of the Grand Temple is the weapon that you'll have in the cube there. The next things that we'll go over are the Pinto's Pride and the Nemesis Bracers. You're going to want to probably cube the Pinto's Pride as it has the multiplier, and wear Nemesis Bracers. I just don't have that set up here right now. But those are going to be a way for you to increase the damage of your Wave of Light. So this goes up to 150%, and then you will get an extra pack from the pylons with the Nemesis Bracer, and that coupled with the usage of the Sage set is going to give you so many Death's Breath. It's going to be very, very easy to not only gear your monk, but gear other classes that you're planning on playing throughout the season. With my speed farming builds, I always go with Gold Wrap, as it's the best thing for survivability. So if you use a Gold Wrap and then a leveled Boon of the Hoarder, you're getting gold non-stop, and you also have the ability to stay alive without really worrying about anything. You can face tank explosions and pretty much anything in the rift while you're running through and not even think about it. So you can just kind of fly through, blow things to pieces, and pick up your Death's Breath and your loot as you go. The rings on this build I like to use Avarice Band, as it just picks up all the golds and globes around me without having to dash over and get them. It's a very, very useful item for a speed farming setup, and it's used on many, many classes. The other ring here is a Stone of Jordan. Now, an optimal Stone of Jordan would have fire damage on it. This is just one I had laying in my bag, but you're looking for that increased damage to elites, and also the elemental damage, which would be fire. You can also take like a convention of the elements here if you don't have a good Stone of Jordan. It just can go either way. I still think the Stone of Jordan is more useful. And then the last portion of this would be the Ring of Royal Grandeur in the Sage set. So just to briefly touch on that, you're using Sunwuko and Sage for this variation. Now, you can do a Belmonk without Sage, but the question is, why would you, right? If you have the opportunity to get an extra Death's Breath every time you kill a pack, then I would take that every single opportunity I had to do so. So if I was either playing the Monk, the Crusader, the Wizard, or the Witch Doctor, in any of those instances I would try and use the Sage set, as long as the build can still do the damage to run the Greater Rifts and you don't have to be carried all the time. In regards to the Monk, it definitely can. As you saw behind me, I was having no problems with this, and it starts working very, very early. I mean, as soon as you have all the gear farmed up, you can go in and start doing T13 pretty much immediately with this setup and not have any issues. With that being said, we'll touch on the gems here. I do have the Gogok of Swiftness. This gives me the cooldown reduction, some dodge chance, and the attack speed so that I can drop bells faster. I have the Bane of the Trapped here. You could also opt out of that and take the Bane of the Powerful. It's just dependent on what you want to do there, and then the Boon of the Hoarders so that you get that damage reduction from the gold wrap. So let's talk about the abilities quickly. We have Wave of Light, Explosive Light. This is the standard one that pretty much everyone is using. Sweeping Wind, Inner Storm. When you have 3 or more stacks, you gain 8 spirit per second. That helps with maintaining spirit and giving you the ability to drop bells constantly. Mystic Ally, Air Ally, this gives you an instant 100 spirit when you have to use it. Those are for those instances where you don't find any packs and you lose your Ingeom stacks and you still haven't got your Epiphany back. You just use your Mystic Ally and get some spirit so that you can continue doing damage as you move through the rift. Dashing Strike, Quicksilver. Quicksilver gives you an extra dash so that you can fly through quicker. You can go with some of the other ones as well, since you have Ingeom and you're going to be having the dash up pretty much all the time anyways. You could take a survivability one or something like that, but I just like to take Quicksilver. And then there's Mantra of Conviction, Annihilation. This, enemies within 30 yards of you take 8% increased damage. That's a passive, you don't even have to do anything to it. When you activate it, damage bonus is increased by 16% for 3 seconds. So you can go up 24% increased damage when it's active. It just enables you to go through faster. The passives here are Seize the Initiative, Near Death Experience, Beacon of Etar for the cooldowns on Epiphany, and then Momentum, moving 25 yards increases your damage by 20% for 6 seconds. Since you're moving all of the time, you basically have this 20% increase throughout the entire rift. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's very, very simple to play, and it's very, very easy to gear. I would say the 2 hardest items, as we kind of touched on briefly before, is the Vengeful Wind and the Ingeom. The Incense Torch is pretty easy to get when you're upgrading yellows, and you'll see that in the day 1 guide. If you haven't checked it out yet and you're interested in it for the start of the season, definitely do. I'll put it in the description. And getting a 7-stack Vengeful Wind. Once you're there, you craft Sage, so you can craft a good one really quickly. You are going to want to prioritize Wave of Light damage wherever you can get it. That happens to be Helm and Boots, so go ahead and do that there. And then everywhere else, you're going for both crits and resource cost reduction where you can squeeze it in. So at any instance you can get where you can get that on an item, you're going to want to. And I'll put that in the written guide that I'll put in the description below as well. Everybody, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I really hope that you enjoy Season 13. I'm looking forward to it. Blizzard did come through with a big ban wave, and I'm hoping that they're going to stick with that, which should increase the legit competition that we have in Diablo 3. This is still my favorite game, and I'm really excited for the upcoming season. Don't forget, guys, you can check me out live anytime on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Dropadooski. I'm on there Monday through Saturday starting at noon. I'm pretty much always on Diablo. There are a couple of days where we raid in World of Warcraft, but if you see me live and you have any questions, feel free to stop by and hit me up, dudes. Please like and subscribe, and I will be putting out more of the day 1 guides and the speed farming guides as we get closer and closer to the start of season. Good luck, everybody. Peace.